You for having me.
I'm so looking forward to this. I was trying to remember or I was trying to remember what made me reach out to you in the first place. I know you came up in conversation. I'm wondering if it was because I've had a couple of guests on that have gone to the Monroe Institute. It comes up a lot. Um, so I don't know, but someone mentioned you and they spoke high.
Mm.
I just know they spoke really highly of you. And I was like, I need to find this woman. So I reached out to you on Facebook and I was like, is this the right Nancy? So thank you so much. I don't know where this conversation's gonna go. You do some amazing research. You've been a part of amazing research throughout your life. I definitely want to talk about that and get into that. But before we do, just so the audience has an idea of who you are, and starting wherever it makes the most sense for you, wherever you feel the most comfortable, but just give us like an idea of what your background looked like and kind of what led you into what you started studying and research and working with. You've done a lot. So, yeah.
I guess I'll start where I went to grad school at the University of West Georgia. Um, I studied under Dr. Christine Simmons Moore, a beautiful, intelligent, she's just an awesome person. She's a parapsychologist as well. And I didn't get into this field intentionally. It kind of just happened. And it happened very quickly. It was amazing to me. But I think throughout my life, it was leading up to that. Because of my background, I'm a psychic medium since I was a child and all these other different experiences. So I think this was just the universe's way of saying, okay, here we go. We're going to just full on do this for you. Because I was hired right out of grad school at the University of Virginia, Division of Perceptual Studies, working with some really high level people over there, like Dr. Ed Kelly and Dr. Bruce Grayson and Dr. Jim Tucker and Dr. Ross Dunseith, who are all amazing researchers. And then I started working with the Monroe Institute through the University of Virginia. And that's how I got started at Monroe. And then the position that I was in um, just led me to doing some of my own research. I was doing some of my own research in grad school and then at the University of Virginia. But then at Monroe Institute, it just allowed me to open it up much more and connect with some really beautiful people. The people that I've met at Monroe Institute have all just been wonderful and they have beautiful stories to tell. And it was an awesome experience.
Can you talk just a little bit about you discovering that you were psychic? Like, did you have any siblings or family members that also were? How did that look for you?
So first, I'm very scientifically oriented in the background. My master's degree and my bachelor's degree is in psychology and research focused. So very, very much that side of me is important. And I think when I started my career, I buried the other side of me to try to stay within the scientific stuff because that's what I really, really enjoy doing. But then there was just a series of events over the last several years that just kept pushing me um, to where I had to face my abilities again. And I hadn't done that since probably grad school. Um, so I didn't have any family members that I grew up with. It was just um, something that happened. And my father had told me later on that he had an aunt
Hmm.
who was a psychic medium. And he had told me, you don't talk about these things. But by then I was already a teenager and I had already talked about them. So it wasn't going to keep me quiet. But I think he was trying to protect me. Not
Yeah.
that he didn't think it was real or that he wanted me to be different. He
Mhm.
just didn't want me to be ostracized.
Yes.
So that stuck with me as well.
So, can you briefly explain to us what gifts and abilities you know to have within yourself?
So I'm clear, sentient, and clear audient. In my mediumship, I do channeling, but not every single time. I think it's up to whoever I'm connecting with, whether or not I'm going to channel. It's nothing that I decide, which is probably sad that I should have more control over that, but I don't. Um, so I grew up typically just getting a sense of people, psychics, as psychics do, and also connecting with deceased, just random stuff as a child that would pop out of my mouth. I'm sure shocked a lot of people. So yeah, I think some channeling, definitely mediumship, definitely. Um, and the psychic. I love doing tarot readings. And I'm always amazed how the tarot readings are so accurate, even on people I know. And I would think there is no way that this person is going through this or this person has done this. There's just no way. And they'd be like, yeah, you're right up, hit the nail on the head. And I'd be like, okay, I didn't know that side of you.
Whether it's mediumship or tarot, do you do these for clients, or is this like just kind of friends and family and that sort of thing? Or have you like made an actual business out of this?
I have made an actual business out of it that's just getting going. I put it on the back burner for the last couple of years. But primarily it was friends and family, and then sometimes random strangers would say, "Oh, I know you from this person or that person," and then we would get connected that way.
Oh,
But I do have several clients who will just randomly send me a text message and ask me to do a card reading for them because they're either going through something or they want to know, what's coming up next. So it's a mix of family, friends, and business.
amazing. Okay, so I kind of I'm gonna ask this in like a broader way, a more general way, and then just kind of let you run with it however you see fit. But I would love to, just considering your abilities, considering your research, considering what you've seen with your personal clients or people that have gone to the Monroe Institute and what we're seeing kind of take place around the world. What do you feel? What do you think is taking place?
I think there's a shift going on. There is an awakening that is becoming more global. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm in this work or not. I would say up until probably a year ago, I would have said, no, it's not really that big of a shift. But it feels more like things are moving in that other direction. And it's nice to see. You read reports about how younger people are getting away from religion, organized religion, and into more spiritual things. And it's nice to hear these things being discussed pretty broadly. Um, it really is. And I don't think it's just the younger crowd that's moving away from organized religion and into spiritual practices. I have an 80-some-year-old mother who just now refuses to go to church. I'm like, I'll go with you and I'll sit there. And she's like, nah, not interested anymore. So
Wow.
it's definitely, I think it's this whole global, this consciousness where we're just shifting because thanks very much in part to social media and how it's allowed us to become so much closer. The world has just shrunk incredibly. And I love it. I
Yes.
love that we're all like a hive, not a hive mind, but just the global consciousness. And I've seen it in my research, and I've seen it in instrumentation and the work of other people too. We are definitely connected, I think, on a level that a lot of people don't even yet understand.
Hmm.
We're Our brains are synchronizing, our actions. We're mobilizing in a way that we hadn't been able to mobilize before. And yes, because of social media, but I also because I think as a as human beings, I think we're ready. I think
Yes.
we're ready to do this. We're
Yeah.
ready to join the other non-human intelligences that we've been contacting or speaking with for many, many years. So I'm really proud of us.
I love that you're saying this. I was just thinking about this the other day. I truly, I was just thinking about exactly this. I was just envisioning us right now and everything that's happening. And I said out loud, I'm so proud of us. Like we're doing this. And yes, there are days and situations that can feel really, really heavy and like we're taking 20 steps back. But in reality, I think the reason why we're seeing so much disruption right now is because it's helping us. I think that's helping us wake up. I think it's helping us see ourselves as well as wake up to um, things outside of us, as well as who we are inside. I think it's teaching us many things. And yeah, I just find a lot of comfort in that. I almost feel like um, had had this not had if things weren't, just kind of uncomfortable right now around the world, then I would be concerned. Then I would feel like we're either prolonging the inevitable or we're just, never going to reach like a higher state of consciousness. So the fact that things are difficult and being shaken up right now, I think is a really good sign. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I love that you're bringing this up. Um, Something I wanted to ask about just kind of in general, and my audience is it's a little bit all over the place. There's some people who are just dipping their toes into understanding consciousness and spirituality. There's others that are, as well informed as you are. Um, so just to kind of again keep things broad, but I would love just your input on what you believe maybe some of the biggest misunderstandings are that we have around consciousness and spirituality and ourselves and our power, our thoughts, as opposed to what we've been taught, as opposed to what you're seeing in yourself, seeing in clients, seeing around the world.
I would say the first thing is the fear around our lack of control or autonomy in the situation. I think over the years, people very much are afraid that we're having our minds read or we're being influenced subliminally. And I think that's the biggest misconception. We don't yet understand our own power, how much in control we are of it, which I think is why it's moving so quickly. It's because while on the one hand, we have that little fear, who wants to go out of body? It's like dying or something, or who wants our minds read? Uh, but we're understanding our own abilities and our own experiences, and we're finding this community that we can actually talk to and get the support that we need on this global scale. So I think it's the lack of autonomy that people perceive that it might imply, but it's really not. We are very much in control. Um, and our minds aren't going to let us experience something that we're not willing to experience. Yes, some people might have an ontological shift that just totally shatters their belief system, but at the same time, it comes when it's necessary and it comes when we're ready for it. It's nothing that's going to come up behind you and smack you on the back of the head and say, "I'm here." We're totally ready for it. And the people that aren't are always going to be the ones that are doubters. I love skeptics because I'm one myself, but people who just flat out deny the science of it and um, the personal accountings, just the phenomenology of the experience alone. You cannot deny the commonalities just in narratives. It's, um, but there are people who do deny that it exists, and they're just not ready to grow in that direction, which is fine.
Yes,
I
agreed.
think there are enough of us to get the rest of the world on board.
I totally agree. In fact, again, something else I've been thinking about recently is I truly think that we've been seeing people wake up in waves, like in not necessarily generations, but large groups like that. And I think within each wave, I think that consists of, children as well as older adults. But I think we've been seeing waves of people wake up for quite some time now. And I think that we are kind of just past this, whether it, you know, feels like it here, it when I feel into the energy, it feels like we're past the, I think there's enough of us, like you said, that will continue this out. And I don't think everyone's going to be ready right away. I do think it will come in waves and as people are ready, but I just I get the sense that one, it's almost just going to be contagious. I mean, again, it's energy and frequency, and I think the more that people see kind of like this other way of being, they're going to start to ask more questions like, why is it working out for them and not so much for me, or why, you know what I mean? I just think it's going to become contagious. I really do. And I feel just intuitively, I just feel like I think a lot of people look at other people who aren't quote unquote awake and they just assume like that's who they're going to be forever. And I think we forget like that so much of like why we exist and why we come here and why we forget who we are in the first place is to wake up. Like life is an awakening. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yes.
if we're here, we're every day we're waking up to something, even if it doesn't look like it necessarily. You know what I mean? So yeah, I totally believe that we are awakening. I think we are doing it in waves. And even when it looks like someone isn't going to awaken, I think at the end of the day, even right now in that moment, they are. They're just going about it
Um,
in a different way.
I think what's helping is how we're manifesting, not just our own personal lives, but manifesting what goes on around us, even if it's perpetuating the negativity. Because what we feel, we become, what we think, we are, and what we what we project into the universe is going to be sent back to us. Which is I'm on this positivity high all the time, not toxic positivity or ignore the rest of the world or anything, but definitely try to keep it as positive as possible. I always think speak in terms of the present, not the past or the future, how things are. How do I want them to be in the future is I should think of it as it is in the present time right now. As a community, we're coming together, we're realizing that more and more. I love that people are into this manifestation stuff so heavily because I've been for decades. I'm like, yes, I manifest my best life all the time since I was a kid. So the fact that it's catching on globally is pretty cool.
I was just having a conversation with my mom, and I was telling her how, you know, for a while, it was, for a while, I didn't realize that, our thoughts are, we're attracting everything, it's reflecting, it's all of that. And it took, it took kind of hitting like a rock bottom for me to realize that I was operating from the past and, constantly thinking about what happened, guilt, shame, blame, all of that. Um, and it was eye-opening to realize that all these negative thoughts I had, all these negative beliefs that I had was creating, my reality around me. And I've done, a lot of inner work and I've done a lot of NLP and, it's been a process, but I've been manifesting a party. I have been manifesting a party, Nancy, and I'm seeing it unfold before my eyes. So now I feel like I have two legs to stand on now, where before it was the one leg where I could say, yeah, I know that these negative thoughts were creating this. But now that I've kind of gone through and I'm getting to the other side, I'm seeing how my positive thoughts are creating what they are. So It's huge. It's real. It's hard to wrap your mind around, and you can be told something. Like I could accept from mentors and hearing other people's stories that had come on the other side and have been manifesting in positive, loving ways, and they're seeing results from it. You could tell me that, but for me, it took a lot of healing my heart. Like I'm thinking in my head, I'm powerful, and we're manifesting all of this, but and I can do anything kind of thing. You know what I mean? But that you're having a heart and head battle when your heart is full of pain and trauma and things from the past that you haven't let go of. If you think, if you're feeling ashamed and guilty about something or whatever, and then your mind's saying you can do anything, those two things don't meet. So it's been a journey, it's been a process, but I'm seeing the party come together. It's phenomenal. And I love that you bring up not focusing on the past and a number of things that you have said. And I kind of want you to explain like the why behind that. Like why not focusing on the like what's going on in terms of our brain, energy, our thoughts, and like, this interconnected web that everything is goes out into and creates, that we're all a part of.
I think you touched on it a little bit, the disconnect between the heart and the brain. But like when I taught at the universities, I would tell my students, your brain only knows what you tell it, which is why we have PTSD. It gets stuck in this loop and it just keeps going around and around. So it only knows what we're thinking. And that's our reality. It's why we jump during scary movies. It's why we cry during those Kleenex commercials. It's because, our brain is truly believing that we are in that space because it's dark in there. So it's only hearing and seeing what and feeling and thinking what we give to it. So if you're in a movie theater and it's dark, your brain totally thinks you are part of that action movie, which is why, we jump out of our seats or we scream in response to it. So it's very much, if you keep living in the past and reliving those situations, your brain just thinks that you are there. It's why we have that physiological response. We have that, we shut down, or we shake, or our blood pressure goes up, or we freeze, because our brains actually think that's where we are again, and they remember what it was like. So we're just reliving those moments over and over and over again. And it's, I think the VA a few years ago was doing mindfulness, cognitive-based mindfulness training, and actually bringing the veterans into those situations so that they could resolve it. So it's like, okay, we're going to think about it. We're going to run through the whole thing. And then that's it. We're going to close that chapter and just move forward with it. And the results they were getting out of that were just astounding, which really supports the idea of that, yeah, if we're living in the past or if we're thinking about the future and we're not talking in terms of the positive present, then that's what our brain does. It just lives wherever we put it. So we want to put it positively. But I like how you said you're starting to wake up to the party. You're seeing that it's going on around you. I think a lot of people are either seeing that in you and others and then getting on board and saying, this can work and I can do it. I remember Tom Campbell during the pandemic. He started a YouTube community and he would have these like fireside chats all the time. And one of the participants had said that she'd read his work and she's like, I'm constantly telling myself, that I need to be nice to this person or I need to do this. And she's just, but I keep getting all of this, the same anger and the same feeling, but I keep telling myself and, and speaking it. this person's nice, or, this is going on, this is happening. She said, but it's just not coming together. And his words were so profound. He said, we have to not just think about what we want, but we also have to put it into action. And like you had said, it's that disconnect between the brain and the heart. And until we align both of those together, it's just not going to happen. It's like in some communities, they say, if you're angry at someone, pray for them every day for 2 weeks. Pray for their positive outcomes. And that really helps to reconnect what you actually want from your brain with your heart. And then that brings it into fruition. It's totally within everyone's ability to do this.
Absolutely. What do you think, whether this is personal to you or it's something that you've noticed throughout research or whatever, but what do you think is, and again, it's different for everyone, but what are some of the best ways that people can kind of start going about aligning the heart and the head?
Being in touch with others, if you see it in someone that you want in yourself, maybe talk to that person, and always look for a community of support where there's plenty of people out there who want to share their stories. And I'm writing a book, by the way, so if anyone has a transpersonal story of growth, you can send it to me and you'll be in my book. But the sharing, the community, we all want to be heard. We all want to be seen. I think if you see it in someone else, then that's someone who you should start hanging out with more. It's definitely out there. And there's plenty of resources. I've talked with dozens of people just in the last 5 years, 6 years, that tell me these amazing stories of happenstance or synchronicity or serendipity, whatever you want to call it. And that led them either to me or to the Monroe Institute or to the Division of Perceptual Studies or some odd book that they would have never thought of. And it's always amazing how they just spontaneously arrive, but it's been a journey for them. They just don't realize all the steps they took up to that point to then have it actually be seen, not placed in front of them because it's been there the whole time, but then to actually see it is a different story.
Again, whether it's something personal that you have experienced or it's something you've seen with clients or others, what has kind of stood out the most to you?
From a personal standpoint, and then I'll get into some of the other stories that people have come to me with. On a personal level, during my PhD program, I would have these energy parties at my house because I knew a lot of people who were either reading runes or doing tarot readings within the grad school. So we would all get together at my house. We would have this potluck dinner, and then we would all go off into different areas and do palm readings, tarot readings, whatever struck us. And we do it for each other. And I remember a master's student, I was doing his palm reading, and I just started channeling this information. I said, just off the wall stuff. This was a young single man from Chicago, living in Georgia. And I said, all of a sudden, you're going to have 6 kids. I said, I don't know if someone's going to die or you're just going to inherit like 5 children. And then there's going to be this other one that's going to come along. And I told him all these things. So you're going to meet someone and do all this other stuff. And it was just before the winter break, Christmas break. So he goes off to Chicago and he comes back, and I'm walking through Melson Hall at the University of West Georgia, which is the psychology department. And I hear him talking to another student, and I hear my name, and I'm like, are you talking about my name? He's like, oh my God, I was just telling him about this reading and how amazing it was. He said, I have to tell you. He said, I got to Chicago. I met this woman while I was on Christmas vacation. He's like, we just connected right away. She's got 5 kids. And then on Christmas Day, my brother and his wife tell us, oh, we're pregnant. We want you to be the godfather. And it was just everything that I had said. And I was just like, wow, that was something. So that was personal. I think that's something that'll always stick with me.
Wow.
Um, and then from people that I've talked with, I think a, I was running an experiment about a month and a half ago at Monroe, and I'm looking at brain synchronization during a um, healing session. So sending healing intention to someone, and whether or not you know that person or you've been married for decades, and just seeing what the differences are. And at the end of the experiment, I let the pair, they get to talk to each other about their experience and what went on. And this woman was just saying, yeah, I saw my father, and just nothing incredible. And about an hour later, I'm leaving to go home, and I see her walking across campus, and she's waving me down. And she's like, I have to tell you, I have to tell you. And she just started crying. She said, when I got done with you, she said, I went back to my room and I checked my phone, and my father had called me while I was in with you. And her father has Alzheimer's, and he's still at that point where sometimes he's lucid. And he called her and he left a message. And he said, were you just in my bedroom doorway? He said, I saw you. And he's in like another part of the country. And it dawned on her that she must have went out of body during this, and she didn't even realize it. She didn't recognize it. So that just gives me the chills that her father with Alzheimer's
Cover.
would recall while she's in an experiment with me and say, are you at my bedroom door? I just saw you. And he totally forgot because of the Alzheimer's that she was away from home for a couple of weeks. But yes, things like that just stick with me. And there's many, many other stories, but that one's the most recent one.
Do
It's
you
just incredible.
it really is incredible. I get goosebumps every podcast, but my hair is like sticking straight up right now. It really is incredible. Um, Shoot. I had a question. Hold on one second. Do you think that that sort of thing is happening way more than we realize? Like, do you think that we are going out of body and things of that nature without us necessarily being aware of it? I mean, dreams, I think that's happening quite often where we are, you know, out of body and projecting in other places and all of that. But do you think that that could be happening more even in like a day-to-day situation like with this girl with her father? Like do you think that's happening way more than what we perceive?
It does, and I don't think it's anything new. I think these things have been going on for a long time. Some of the people that I've talked to, when they hear about out of body experiences, they're like, yeah, I've been doing that since I was a kid. I thought it was just dreaming. And able to, do whatever, see what my mom was doing since I was a kid. So it's not that it's happening more often. I think we're recognizing it better. We're recognizing it for what it is because the global community is shrinking. So we're able to share these things. And we all have questions as well. Why is this happening, or why did it happen? So we're seeking out more information. And I have a theory on the out of body experiences. I think there's two different kinds. There's classical and then there's non-classical. Classical would be the Bob Monroe experience, the vibration and seeing yourself when you hit the ceiling looking down. And then like this woman that was in my experiment has totally non-classical symptoms. She didn't even know she was out of body. But so now she knows what it feels like. She'll always remember what it felt like during her first, during the recognition of that first out of body experience. It may not have been her first, but it was her first recognition of it, and her body will never forget. So that's pretty amazing.
Where is kind of like the line between I want to talk about imagination. Like what I guess the question is what is imagination versus like us visualizing from our third eye or manifesting, or you know what I mean? And is there even a difference? Like, is what we call imagination, is that actually all of those things?
I think it's just different words for the same actions and outcomes. Uh, if you think about like Star Wars, the movie, the person that wrote that, um, it was in his imagination at first. You know, he imagined that whole universe, that different landscape, those planets with many moons that no one's ever, conceived of before. And it went from his imagination onto paper and then onto the big screen. So how many of us now have all of those scenes from the Star Wars and all every time movie that's come out since then? How many of us don't actually now have that in our imagination? And who knows, maybe it'll end up being like Star Wars or Star Trek or something, and we'll be out exploring new worlds or something. So I don't think there's a difference between imagination, because what you imagine, what you think, can definitely come to fruition. I don't know if you can bring a purple monster into fruition, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
And I love this because this kind of goes back to what we were saying before in terms of um, what you're focusing on and staying present and all of that is, we are creating all of this in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just how we respond to it, to a situation mentally, or if we're actually thinking of something that comes to, because technically, good, bad, or indifferent, technically we're always creating. Our thoughts go somewhere. Our thoughts are energy. I think we think that they just stay here. Like if we're, talking badly about someone in our mind, we think it's just staying here, but really that's all, everything's being projected out into this connected
I'm
web.
not talking about the projecting our thoughts and feelings out into the world. And I think one great example of that is, who are we now giving a voice to? Who do we give our soapbox over to? Who now has the media platform, every station tuned in and turned on and listening? So perpetuating negativity definitely is being projected out into the world. I tell my husband all the time, I wish you wouldn't get so upset about politics, because the more you say the name, or the more you talk about, the party, um, it just makes them more popular. So yes, it's what we speak, um, what we believe, what we imagine our world to be, is very much part of manifestation. And um, my biggest story was just before I started working at the Division of Perceptual Studies. Was my last semester at grad school. And at that point, you're thinking, crap, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Or at least, how am I going to pay for it? And so I started keeping a journal of what I wanted to do. I wanted to open up a retreat center. I wanted it to be in the mountains. I wanted there to be not just teachers on residence, but people that would come in from all around the world and teach and share their knowledge. It was just a series of things. And then I was like, oh, okay, I want there to be yurts. People are going to stay in yurts and like a community. And then there'll be this huge, giant yurt where everyone will commune together and have, meals and things. And then I had a friend, she sent me an email, and she said, she's a psychic too. She sent me the email and she said, someone sent this job description to me and told me to apply. She said, but this is your job. And we hadn't seen each other for probably 6 months. She said, this is your job. You need to apply. Okay, I'll apply. And I did. And I think it was within 2 weeks, the Division of Perceptual Studies called me for an interview. So yeah, that was amazing. And then also in grad school, you're not supposed to apply to jobs without telling your supervisor. Crap, I did not tell Dr. Simmons Moore that I was applying for this random job. So I had to call her and tell her what I did. And she's like, "Are you kidding me? I did grad work there." I was like, "Really?"
Wow. So you approve?
Yeah, yeah. So it all came full circle. But then when
Wow.
I get here for my interview, they take me up to Monroe Institute because the um part of the job would have been to work at Monroe doing research with them. And I get up there, and the director um, is taking me up to the top of the mountain to Roberts Mountain Retreat. And he says, "Oh, Nancy, by the way, off to the side, down in the gully, if you look, we have a yurt." And I was like, "That's it. This is my job." So I manifested not in the way that I
Wow.
intended it, but
Yes, it
definitely
never is, right?
manifest. Yeah, they're located in the mountains. It's beautiful up there. It's a private retreat center. People come in from all over the world, not just to attend programs, but to teach, programs as well. So yeah, it's definitely what you put into it.
Incredible. Yes. And I couldn't agree more that how everything works out is it's never what you think it's going to be. But if you can focus on, for me, it's been really helpful to focus on like the energy and the feelings that I want to see. Um, and some of the detail too, but focusing less on like how it's all going to happen because it like to your point,
Mhm.
I mean the universe will work with you and I mean you have to do what you have to do too. I mean you can't just lie in bed all day and expect to
Right.
you know but yeah it's focusing on, for me it's been focusing on like the feeling, the general feelings of things and just like bigger picture.
So that's the part about staying in the present. So
Yes.
you're thinking about these things and you're telling yourself, "Oh, this is going to be a good feeling, and it's love all the way around, and very, excitement." And you're not focused on the how, you're focused on the outcome, but you're also focused on as if it is right now.
Yes.
And that's how it unfolds. So it's pretty amazing stuff.
Absolutely. It really is. I want to end with like kind of final advice and that sort of thing. But before we go there, do you want to touch on you're currently writing two books, right? Or just the one?
Two books.
Two books. So you talked about the one. Anything else if you want to touch on that? I know you're looking for people to be a part of that. Talk about both of them.
So I'll just say my website so that people can then find my email. It's mindflowsoul.com. And my email is on there. So if you have a spiritual transpersonal story, that's how you can reach me. My book that I started out with is The Psychology of Being Told You're Too Much, and how that impacts us as adults and our choices in life, and how we tend to minimize and not celebrate ourselves because we're too loud or we're too shy. I was told all my life, "You're too shy, you're too shy. You're too big, you're too small, you're too short." I'm only 5'0". Always, "You're too short." Too short, too shy. And how these impact us. And it's going to include a workbook so you can then work through these things to then move past them, because we do need to celebrate ourselves versus thinking about what we've been told all our lives. So that's the second book. And the first one, yeah, it's definitely I want to hear people's stories, and I want to put them in a place that will inspire everyone. I know people want to write their own stories and write books and things, but I want it to be a compilation so that everyone can see, because maybe your story isn't everyone's story, but somebody's story is going to influence somebody else's story, and you're going to be an inspiration to someone out there, which is the magic of writing this book. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I love it. I've only read one compilation book so far. And it was a mentor that I've had kind of throughout this process. And she was one of the first people that I interviewed on the show. And the other authors of that book, it kind of ended up being a lot of my guests. And just the power of the compilation, just like you're saying, all these stories are so different, but they also overlap and just having a number to examine and compare to one another and just take in one book, I think is genius. I really do. I think more compilation books and more just round tables where we're seeing people of different minds and backgrounds and beliefs, collaborating and talking together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
definitely a big interdisciplinary
Yes.
type researcher.
Yes, yes. We
That's
need
why I
it
have the
so much
like
right now. Yeah.
neuroscience in my background and psychology in my background and community in my background is just um, all these different things. We are not islands. We cannot do it in isolation.
Yes.
Physicists love to attend our parapsychology conferences because they've seen things under the microscope that most humans don't get to see that aren't explainable. So they come
Yes.
to our conferences because they want to know. They want to talk to parapsychologists and other people who are looking at these things, and they want to see, what the commonalities are. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. Parapsychology, we attract all kinds.
I bet.
If you have questions, ask the questions or keep listening for the answers. Don't spend your life wondering if it's all an illusion or if it's something that happened to you that you just think it was a dream, and pay attention to that yearning. You want more, there are questions. Just don't stop looking for them. Find your people, find your community. And my master's thesis supervisor told me that when I applied to grad school, he's like, "Yeah, your mothership landed. You belong there." He was so right. I was offended when he first said it, but yeah, you have to keep looking, no matter how long it takes you. You're gonna find other people out there who are gonna share your story and share your questions, or even have your answers.
Mm,
So listen for those books, like you mentioned a book, but then there's people, just start looking, do an internet search, whatever it takes. There's a lot more of us weird people out there than people think. Just stay positive, stay focused, and just keep looking, keep searching.
I love it. Nancy, thank you so, so much. This was
Thank you.
beautiful, truly. Thank you. I'm
Thank
honored.
you
I
for
really am.
thank you for giving me the opportunity.